And now joining me is former Doña Ana County Manager Fernando Macias. Mr. Macias, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. So just as my first question, can you tell us about yourself and your qualifications to serve as the District Attorney in Doña Ana County?
All right. So my wife Claudia and I have raised 4 daughters here in the Doña Ana County area. All of them are graduates from New Mexico State University. So I'm here by way of Gadsden High School, New Mexico State University, Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C. is the educational background. And of course, I've had a number of positions. I've been blessed with the opportunity to serve as a district court judge, including the chief judge of the district court, in the state senate as a county commissioner, and in a variety of administrative roles for prominent organizations.
I see. So to get to the next question, what sort of reform in New Mexico's criminal justice system would you like to see?
Well, certainly there's a slew of different necessities to improve the criminal justice system. One of them is the timely prosecution of cases. That certainly has to be at the forefront of the concern of the public because it takes so long to complete many of these cases. And in all fairness to both the victim, the victim's family, and the defendants, spending years waiting for resolution of the cases is really unacceptable. So part of my focus would be to shorten the time frames, to organize early, to either make a determination that the case is one that can be resolved, or it is one that will go to trial, and that it goes to trial on a timely basis because the district attorney's office has been able to provide all of the information that is necessary to proceed with the prosecution to the defense attorney that is representing the defendant.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think of using harm reduction as a way to deal with non-violent offenses such as low-level drug possession?
Well, certainly I've had the opportunity already to preside over drug courts, the adult drug court, the juvenile drug court, the family reunification drug court in civil abuse and neglect cases. So I believe that there are opportunities to intervene early. I believe in giving people those opportunities to reform their lives, to improve their lives. But again, there has to be a level of accountability at all levels, at all cases, and there has to be a commitment on the part of the defendant to really believe that they can embrace and change the direction of their lives.
Mm. And Mr. Macias, how would you improve collaboration between your office and with local law enforcement should you be elected to the position of district attorney?
One of them is very simple. Convey what the expectations are. Law enforcement is absolutely critical. They're at the forefront of the criminal justice system. But again, there has to be an understanding and a level of patience that is necessary to accumulate all of the information that will lead to the successful prosecution of a case.
I see. So can you explain, going off of that, can you explain how you would handle a fatal use of force incident involving law enforcement within the county?
The equal justice is the standard, and the criminal law applies to everyone equally. So it is really no different in terms of assessing whether there was criminal liability. One understands the pressure that law enforcement has to deal with, the constant challenges that they face in the community, but one recognizes that they have elevated levels of training and there's higher expectations in terms of how they control the situation and the amount of force that is absolutely necessary. But it would be as in every other determination. Where is the fairness? What are the circumstances? What is the evidence to support the action? But most of all, to be fair to the individuals and to explain to them what is the basis that would support the successful prosecution. And if it isn't there, to have the courage to tell people there will not be a successful prosecution in this case, and you have to understand it makes no sense to be able to go forward with these cases.
And Mr. Macias, this is something that you touched on earlier in our conversation, but what needs to be done to address the backlog of cases within our court system right now?
Certainly having a fully staffed office, having them fully trained, but a lot of it is just the process, the procedure. I'm very oriented to understanding what is the task that has to be accomplished. Regardless of what level of organization that you participate in, you always have goals, you always have requirements that must be met, and you manage to accomplish the goal. You understand what efforts are necessary to get you there, and a lot of upfront evaluation of the cases, especially by senior management within the district attorney's office, and not individual assessment, but a team of individuals assessing every case and whether or not it has the requisite evidence to support going forward with a conviction. So in assuming this office, which would occur the 1st of January of 2025, it's going to be incumbent to go back and make an assessment as to whether some cases drop between the cracks that should be revived, has the opportunity to be revived, and then proceed with the prosecution of those cases.
And moving on, how would you navigate competency and pretrial detention laws in order to keep dangerous individuals off of the street?
Well, certainly competency is not an issue that can be addressed in a very short period of time. But there are ways to address competency issues within a relatively short period of time. The Doña Ana County Detention Center has a full-time psychiatrist. It has staffing that is oriented to intervening in behavioral health issues because many of the individuals coming into the detention center are dealing with mental health issues. So there's already a base to be able to assess what medication is necessary, keeping them in an environment where they're receiving 3 meals a day, where they're not exposed to the elements, where they're off illegal drugs. All of that coordination can really play a much more critical role and more effective role in helping individuals reach competency in order for them to properly address the charges that they face.
And Mr. Macias, this will be my last question. What sets you apart from your opponents, and what is your appeal to voters as we move closer to that June primary?
Well, I think my greatest strength is the history of high levels of responsibility that I've had to assume in the different positions. I've already been a district court judge that 90% of the cases that I handled were criminal cases. I know where the choke points are in the criminal justice system. I know how to address them. But more importantly, I've already borne the responsibility and the burden of running large operations, large governmental operations, where I feel my opponents really have never had a day of management responsibility. And it is the focus that people have to understand. It isn't whether you can prosecute one case, whether you're a good prosecutor, because people that have held this position, they know how to prosecute a case. Where the failings have been is that they don't know how to operate the office in a way that can address 3,000 cases a year. I've had all of those experiences repeatedly during the course of my career. So I can assure the voting public that I bring a level of experience unlike any of the other candidates that are running for this position.
Well, I appreciate you coming in today, Mr. Macias. Mr. Fernando Macias is running for district attorney in New Mexico's 3rd Judicial District. I appreciate you coming in and sharing with us and the voters your platform today.
Thank you. And I look forward to more dialogue and continued conversations with media and the public to better inform them of the operations of the criminal justice system.
Certainly, and we do appreciate that. We have one more interview left, so stick with us here on KRWG TV.